lone figure staggers through a raging blizzard on a mountainside. His breaths are shallow. Ice crusts his beard, and every step could be his last. For 8 days, Eric LeMarque has been trapped in these frozen mountains, utterly alone and on the brink of death. By the time this ordeal is over, the former Olympian will either be dead or forever changed. But how did he end up here, fighting for his life in the cruel wilderness? It all began on a clear February morning at California's Mammoth Mountain ski resort. The sun was shining, fresh snow blanketed the peaks. A perfect day for snowboarding. Eric LeMarque, 34 years old, an experienced snowboarder and former professional hockey player, felt invincible. He lived for adrenaline and adventure. But that particular morning, reports of an incoming storm had started to circulate. Ski patrol began closing the slopes early, urging everybody to head down the slopes, announcing a storm's coming in fast. Mountain closed. They warned over loudspeakers. Skiers and snowboarders were streaming towards the lodge to find safety. But Eric had other plans. He knows the storm is coming, but he can't resist just one more run. One more taste of freedom in the backcountry, powder before calling it a day. Eric was fueled by confidence and a bit of arrogance. Eric ignores the patrollers and ducks under a boundary rope. He hikes up higher and higher, beyond the resort's trails, chasing untouched snow. Dark clouds gather overhead as he reaches the top of an unmarked run. And, wouldn't you know it, the view is breathtaking and deceiving. As Eric straps in and starts his descent, a heavy fog begins to creep over the mountain. What started as an adrenaline rush is about to become a nightmare. Within just a few minutes, visibility drops to zero. A swirling mist and blowing snow swallow the landscape. Eric can barely see his own snowboard. The familiar slopes of Mammoth Mountain have vanished. He's now snowboarding blind. Eric slows to a halt. His heart's pounding. All around him is white void. No sounds of other skiers, no lifts, no trail markers, just endless snow and fog. In that moment, Eric LeMarque realizes he's completely lost. He shouts for help as loud as he can. "Hello, can anybody hear me?" But the wind devours his voice. No answer. Dusk is approaching, and with it, the temperature is plummeting. As daylight fades, Eric faces a terrifying truth. He won't make it off the mountain before nightfall. There's no choice now but to survive the night in the open, with no tent, no sleeping bag, and no one knowing where he is. Now desperate for any refuge, Eric finds a sturdy tree and huddles against the trunk. The pine trees break some of the wind as darkness envelops the forest. The temperature sinks well below freezing. He's wearing just his snowboarding gear. A light jacket, snow pants, gloves, not nearly enough for an overnight freeze. His body trembles uncomfortably as he fights to stay warm. Memories of survival tips flicker into his mind. Keep moving, don't fall asleep. If he dozes off now, in this cold, he may never wake up. He stomps his feet and slaps his arm against his body to keep the blood flowing. Minutes crawl by, the forest is pitch black, except when lightning forks across the sky, illuminating endless snow. Every second is agony. But Eric clings on, waiting desperately for dawn. After a complete eternity, morning light creeps over the mountain. He survived the first night, completely exhausted, shivering, but alive. For a moment, Eric lets himself feel a spark of hope. In the early light of day 2, the storm has calmed. Fresh snow is everywhere, but the biting cold remains. Eric's muscles ache and his feet are numb from the long, frigid night. He knows he can't last another night out here. He has to keep moving and find a way out. Eric recalls that there's a lodge, Tamarack Lodge, somewhere on the backside of the mountain. He estimates it to be about 1 or 2 miles away downhill. If he can reach it, he'll be saved. With resolve, he starts trekking through the knee-deep snow, using his snowboard like a makeshift walking stick. Hours pass by as Eric trudges through a maze of trees and snowfields. Thirst crawls at his throat. He hasn't had a sip of water since yesterday. His mouth is dry, lips cracked. Dehydration is setting in quickly in the cold, dry air. Then, over the quiet crunch of his steps, he hears it. The faint burbling sound of running water. A stream. Eric's heart lifts. Water means life. He follows the sound to a frozen creek where a ribbon of liquid water flows under the ice. Clear, fresh water. Exactly what he needs. Eric drops to his knees at the bank, but the stream is just out of reach beneath a layer of ice and snow. Completely determined to drink, Eric crawls onto a snow-covered ledge that juts out over the water. He inches forward, lying flat on his stomach, stretching his arm towards an opening in the ice. Just a little further. Suddenly, crack, the snow ledge gives away. In an instant, the ground disappears beneath him, and Eric plunges into ice-cold water, the last thing he needed. If you've gone swimming in a cold lake, you know what it's like. The shock is instantaneous and brutal. The water is just above freezing, a liquid dagger stabbing every inch of his body. Eric's chest seizes up. He gasps involuntarily, swallowing a mouthful of ice water. His heavy snow clothes pull him down as the current tugs. Eric's now underwater, disoriented, freezing, heart exploding with fear. Instinct kicks in and he thrashes upward. In a burst of sheer will, his head breaks the surface. He's alive. Gasping and sputtering, Eric claws at the snowy bank. His fingers grasp a solid root, and he drags himself out of the river's grasp, inch by inch. Coughing and gasping for air, Eric rolls onto the snow out of the water. He's safe from drowning, but now in even greater danger. Soaked to the bone in sub-freezing temperatures, his body temperature drops rapidly. With fumbling frozen fingers, he rips off his jacket, his heavy sweater, anything dripping wet. Steam rises off his body in the frigid air as warmth leaches away. Now completely exposed to the elements, he does the only thing he can. He keeps moving. Shirtless in the snow, he forces himself to do push-ups, jump, whatever it takes to generate heat. His muscles burn and lungs ache, but slowing down means freezing solid. The second night, Eric barely survived. By day 3, his feet are completely frozen. He can no longer walk upright, crawling on his hands and knees with the snowboard under his arm for support becomes his only way forward. And after 8 days of suffering, starving, and frostbitten, finally, a rescue helicopter spots him. Eric LeMarque is saved, but at a terrible cost. Both of his feet get amputated. Even after losing his legs, Eric refused to be defeated. He fought to walk again and to snowboard again. His survival is a testament to sheer power of human resilience. What a story. I've been to the summit of Whistler, and I can totally see how quickly something like that could happen. If you're ever skiing or snowboarding and you hear an announcement like that, remember Eric's story and get to safety as quick as you can, because it's not worth getting one more run. If you made it this far into the video, I want to say thank you for watching. If you have any story suggestions, be sure to comment below. I'd love to tell stories you guys suggest. And remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys on the next one.